And now,
breaking news.
Ahoy, the news.
News
from the
With Meyer.
Representative Duran, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Well, we're happy with the comfortable temps, and it's Thursday, so we're one day closer to the weekend. I suppose you've had a busy week.
Yeah, it's not slowing down, I can tell you that. Things are seeming to be ramping up a little bit more, and our first deadlines are approaching, so we're trying to get everything in as quick as possible.
Biggest story I saw yesterday was Democrats unveiled, I don't know, a dozen bills, all to make things cheaper. I obviously didn't read the whole guts of all of those, but what's your take on what they were presenting yesterday?
Well, it's quite amazing that they've got this big plan, but they're not really speaking to the Republicans on any of this stuff. And with the split government, you think that they'd want to have some sort of cooperation and plan that we can work together to pass some of this stuff. But it just, again, it's a little bit of political theater. And their press conference is going to be a little bit different than what's actually happening in committees. If you follow the bills that are being introduced in committees, they're not really conducive to making Minnesota better. I would just, make sure that people are paying a little bit more attention, start digging into things a little bit instead of just reading the headlines.
Good luck with that.
Yep, that is definitely harder. It's easier said than done. It's harder to get people to get off the headlines and actually go in and read the stories. And this is happening on both sides of the aisle.
Sure.
So I got to call it out where it is. And sometimes Republicans tend to work on the headlines instead of actually digging into actually the truth. And so.
Well, according to the headline, everything on the planet was going to be cheaper.
Really?
Well, I mean, if we truly wanted to really focus on lowering the prices for everything, we'd really have to focus on our energy policies, because energy is something that is going to lower the cost of everything, right? Cost to make things, it takes energy to make this stuff, and the policies in regards to energy right now are not necessarily conducive to lowering prices anywhere. So it's like I said, if we truly want to make a movement to lower the prices and really do things for the state of Minnesota, we need to start focusing on the things that will actually make things better for us. We've had an increase in property taxes. Everybody's feeling this right now. Well, those are policies from the 23-24 biennium that was Democratic trifecta. They raised costs on everything, and now we're feeling the benefits of that. And I don't know if it's quite a benefit, but we're hurting now, especially up in northern Minnesota, where we necessarily don't have the money or the tax base to be able to kind of withstand some of these changes that are happening within the state of Minnesota. But we just need to reassess things for sure.
Well, it's just frustrating when it's just got to come out. We just got to control spending. And small businesses throughout rural Minnesota, even businesses in the metro, Duluth, Moorhead, have had to cut, or haven't had the ability to hire people, right? And so we've all had. Yep. I'm speaking as a citizen, and just like, hey, you guys need to cut some spending. There's got to be spots. People all over America are figuring out in their household. Government needs to do the same thing. Enough. Things aren't going to be cheaper. Has that ever happened?
No.
Well, I've only been in legislation for a short amount of time, and I can tell you this, that I don't know if that's ever happened. What happens is a lot of people, and this is on both sides of the aisle too, we make policies based on feelings instead of actually logic, right? We don't necessarily look at the ripple effect to some of the changes that are happening with inside, with inside some of these programs that we're trying to change, and then how this is going to affect us in the future. We don't necessarily think like that. We just want it now, right? We want this change now. We want to get this thing done. Just like paid family medical leave, right? That's a huge thing. Everybody's having this big issue, like, we got to do this for the people now. Well, what about the businesses? What about the school district? What about all the ripple effect that's going to occur after the fact? Like, now we have all these over expenses on businesses that are put on by the state of Minnesota. If we wanted to mandate something, I'd say just leave it to the private sector that, the businesses have to be able to provide something that they can, withstand, and without putting a whole, like, one size fits all, and the idea coming from the Twin Cities, which is not conducive to northern Minnesota.
Sure. What are your thoughts on, well, it's a hot button item right now, unfunded mandates?
Well, again, unfunded mandates have been a big issue throughout government for, ever, yeah. So it's one of those things that we have to be able to look at that and say, okay, so, again, there were so many mandates that were pushed, and we're trying to carve some of those back, but it's tough, right? In a split house like we have, the unfunded mandates are a problem. They are putting a lot of businesses in a difficult position. But not only that, what do we have that's going on right now that's a hot topic item inside Bemidji? The possible issue with a school, right?
True.
Well, people need to understand some of the mandates that were actually pushed from the state of Minnesota is really putting our school district that's already financially restrained in the first place in more of a financial burden. So we have to start looking at things and looking at this as a whole to figure out what happened here. And the policies that were implemented in the 23-24 biennium, here we go again. We're being pushed back in a corner. So it's just tough. And people need to realize that the state of Minnesota has made choices that are putting people in a tougher spot, and it's all based on feelings. We got to just, make people feel good about everything. And it's like, well, sometimes people aren't going to be happy, and this is on both sides of the aisle.
Sure.
Like, we can't look at it like that. And getting the benefit to in Minnesota shouldn't be a political. We shouldn't be playing politics with people's lives either, but we tend to do it every day.
What sorts of progress are you making on the sales tax relief from the storm and BSU's trees?
Nope. So we're actually going to hear the bill next week in higher education for the trees for BSU. We're going to do a walkthrough of that. And BSU was just up here. President Hoffman was actually just up here speaking this week in regards to the storm damage. Gave us an oversight. There was another individual with him, one of the grounds guys, talking about all that stuff. So we are getting the exposure we need. I was talking to the higher ed chair about this issue, so it kind of been agreed upon, like, hey, let's get Bemidji up here. Let's have them kind of explain the damages that occurred during that storm, and we'll see what kind of resources we can bring to northern Minnesota. Well, the problem is we don't have any money in the state of Minnesota, so where are we going to get this money? And so again, here the policies and the ripple effect that we made, decisions a couple of years ago are now putting us on a financial, strain. But the other topic, the sales tax, there is, it's looking like there might be some bipartisan support for that. You never know until you hear it. Obviously, things could change every day. Some things are getting a little bit spicy between the Republicans and Democrats right now, so hopefully we can calm down the rhetoric and put aside some of our emotions and actually try to get something done for the state of Minnesota. But we'll see.
Okay. Well, good. And you're going to try to come back tonight?
Yep. Try to come back tonight after session, and just want to let everybody know, your listeners know, that it's Bemidji Day at the Capitol today. So we're going to have a bunch of Bemidji people down here talking to legislators and getting introduced to a lot of people and kind of pushing some of our northern values on St. Paul. So, if you guys haven't had an opportunity to kind of join this group to come down here and talk to everybody, it's a good thing, because politics is all built on relationships and relationship building and getting people to understand the needs of our community, and this is a great opportunity for us.
And I'm sure it kind of lightens the hill a little bit, seeing all those plaid vests down there today. I saw a post on Facebook or an email saying, "Hey, anybody got vests? We need some more vests. If you got one in your closet, bring it on down." But from what I've heard, the folks at the Capitol, everybody really
they
enjoys
know
it.
when it's Bemidji Day. Trust me.
Yep, they know when it's Bemidji Day, so it's nice. So I'll be wearing my vest today too, walking around. But yeah, it's a good opportunity for people to hear from others, and obviously we're going to talk about the storm damage and kind of what we need, and obviously the mandates and things that are hurting our small businesses up there. So we just need to keep pushing it, and I'm only one voice, right?
That's where it starts, though.
And what's that?
That's where it starts.
Yep.
It starts with the voice.
And
idea.
so we need to, we just need to, come together as a community and keep pushing those values, and making sure that people understand that we need a change in the state of Minnesota.
Well, you have a good day at work, and we'll catch up with you next Thursday.
Yep, perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You bet.